Here's a fact that should terrify anyone thinking about day trading. A major financial regulator studied millions of real intraday traders and found that 7 out of 10 of them lost money in a single year. 7 out of 10. And for the most active traders, the ones placing over 500 trades a year, it was 8 out of 10. But here's what that study doesn't tell you. Most of those traders didn't fail because their strategy was bad. They failed because of one single trade or one single bad week was big enough to wreck them. Today, I'm going to show you the one rule that makes that mathematically almost impossible. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, this is where we break down trading and investing concepts in plain English, no hype, no get-rich-quick nonsense, just the math and the psychology that actually decide whether you survive in the markets. Today's topic is the single most important rule in all of day trading, the 1% rule. It's not a strategy. It's not an indicator. It's a survival system, and it's the closest thing trading has to a seatbelt. By the end of this video, you'll know 3 things. First, exactly what the 1% rule says, and just as importantly, what it doesn't say, because most beginners get this completely wrong. Second, how to calculate your position size using the rule in about 10 seconds, with a real worked example you can copy. And third, the most common ways traders think they're following the 1% rule while actually breaking it, which is often worse than never knowing the rule at all. We'll also follow our old friend Marcus again. If you've seen our revenge trading video, you know Marcus has a talent for learning lessons the expensive way. Today you'll see the exact month his trading changed and the numbers behind it. Let's get into it. Let's start with the rule itself, stated precisely, because the wording matters. The 1% rule says, never risk more than 1% of your account on any single trade. Now, read that carefully, because there's a trap hiding in it. It does not say never put more than 1% of your money into a trade. It says never risk more than 1%. Those are completely different things, and confusing them is probably the number one beginner mistake in all of risk management. Here's the difference. Your position size is how much money you put into a trade. Your risk is how much you'd actually lose if the trade goes against you and hits your stop loss. If you have a $10,000 account, the 1% rule means the most you're allowed to lose on any one trade is $100. Not the most you can invest, the most you can lose. And that means the rule only works if every trade has a predefined exit, a stop loss. The 1% rule and the stop loss are a package deal. One without the other is meaningless. So why 1%? Why not 5% or 10%? 2 reasons, and they're both pure math. Reason 1, losses hurt more than gains help. This is the most counterintuitive piece of math in trading. If you lose 10% of your account, you don't need a 10% gain to get back to even. You need 11.1% because you're now growing a smaller number. Lose 25% and you need 33% just to break even. Lose 50% and you need to double your remaining money, a 100% gain, just to get back to where you started. And if you lose 90%, you need a 900% return. The hole gets deeper faster than you can climb out of it. The 1% rule exists to keep you out of the deep end of that hole entirely. Reason 2, losing streaks are not a possibility, they're a certainty. This is the part almost nobody internalizes. Let's say you have a strategy that wins exactly half the time, a coin flip. If you place 250 trades in a year, that's just 1 trade per trading day. The probability that you hit at least one streak of 7 consecutive losses somewhere in that year is about 63%, more likely than not. And there's roughly an 11% chance you hit 10 losses in a row. That's not bad luck. That's just what randomness looks like over a full year. So the real question that decides your survival is, what does a 7-loss streak do to your account? If you risk 1% per trade, 7 straight losses leaves you down about 6.8%. Annoying. Recoverable. You're still in the game, still calm, still following your plan. If you risk 5% per trade, which feels bold but not crazy to most beginners, that same streak costs you about 30% of your account. Now you need a 43% gain just to get back to even, and psychologically, you're wounded. And if you risk 10% per trade, 7 straight losses wipes out over half your account, about 52%. Stretch it to 10 losses and you're down 65%, sitting on roughly $3,500 of your original $10,000. At that point, most traders don't recover, not because the math is impossible, but because the desperation kicks in. They start swinging for the fences, and that's how accounts actually die. Here's the mental shift I want you to make. The 1% rule isn't about limiting your upside. It's about guaranteeing that no single trade and no realistic losing streak can ever knock you out of the game. Because in trading, the only unforgivable mistake is the one you can't recover from. Academic researchers who studied over a decade of complete trading records from an entire stock exchange found that only a small minority of day traders were consistently profitable, and the traders who survived long enough to develop real skill were, almost by definition, the ones who kept their losses small while they were learning. Amateurs ask, "How much can I make on this trade?" Professionals ask, "How much can I lose?" The 1% rule forces you to think like a professional on every single trade, automatically. Let me show you what this looks like in real life, with real numbers. Meet Marcus, or rather, meet him again, because if you've watched our revenge trading episode, you already know how this usually goes. Marcus in January, before the rule. Marcus opens a day trading account with 10,000. He's done his homework on strategy, he can read a chart, he has entry criteria, he's not clueless. But he's never once thought about position sizing. He just buys what feels right. One Tuesday morning, he spots a setup he loves. He's so confident that he puts $8,000, 80% of his entire account, into the position. No stop loss because he knows it's going up. Instead, the stock drops 6% by early afternoon. That's a 480 loss, 4.8% of his account gone on one trade. Nearly 5 months worth of 1% rule losses in 4 hours. And here's where the psychology takes over, because big losses don't just cost money, they cost judgment. Marcus is angry. He wants it back today. So he goes all in with his remaining 920 on a volatile stock he barely researched. It drops 8%. That's another 762 gone. By the closing bell, Marcus is sitting on 758. In one single day, he's lost 12.42% of his account, and he now needs a 14.2% gain just to see his starting balance again. Notice something, his strategy didn't fail him. His sizing did. 2 trades. That's all it took. Marcus in March, after the rule. Fast forward. Marcus has licked his wounds, watched a few videos, hopefully ours, and committed to the 1% rule. Here's his new process, and I want you to watch how mechanical it is. There are just 3 steps. Step 1. Calculate your maximum risk in dollars. His account is back to 10,000. 1% of that is 100. That's his loss ceiling on the next trade. Written down, non-negotiable. Step 2. Define the trade before entering it. He finds a stock setting up at $5 a share, and based on the chart, his stop loss goes at $48.50, the level where the trade idea is clearly wrong. So his risk per share is the entry minus the stop, $1.50. Step 3. Divide maximum risk. $100 divided by 1.50 is 66.67, so he rounds down to 66 shares. Always down, never up. That's a position of 366 shares at $50 each. And here's the beautiful part. If the trade works, Marcus participates in the upside with a meaningful position. 1/3 of his account is working for him. If the trade fails and his stop triggers, he loses 66 shares times 1.50, which is exactly 99. About 1% of his account. Not a catastrophe. Not even a bad day. Just the routine cost of doing business. Now let's stress test it, because this is where the rule earns its keep. Suppose Marcus hits a brutal stretch, 10 losing trades in a row. At 1% risk per trade, recalculated on his shrinking balance each time, 10 straight losses leaves him with about $9.44. He's down 9.6%. He needs roughly a 10.6% gain to recover, very doable, and more importantly, his head is still clear because no single loss ever felt like an emergency. The old Marcus risking 10% a trade. Those same 10 losses would have left him with $3,487, a 65% drawdown, needing a 197% return just to break even. Same strategy. Same market. Same losing streak. One trader is mildly annoyed, the other is effectively finished. One more thing, because I don't want you to think the 1% rule means tiny profits. Small risk does not mean small returns, it means controlled risk with asymmetric reward. Say Marcus only wins 45% of his trades, less than a coin flip, but he structures every trade to make $2 for every $1 he risks, risking 100 to make 200. On average, that's a 35 profit per trade. 45% of the time he makes 200, 55% of the time he loses 100. Over 250 trades in a year, that's 8,750 of expected profit on a 10,000 account, while never once having more than about 1% on the line. That's how professionals compound. Small, survivable losses, and winners that are consistently bigger than the losers. Now, here's the uncomfortable truth. Plenty of traders think they follow the 1% rule and still blow up. So let's cover the 4 most common ways people break it while believing they're safe. Mistake number 1. Confusing position size with risk. We touched on this, but it deserves its own spotlight because it cuts both ways. Some beginners think the rule means only investing 1% of their account per trade, a 100 position on a $10,000 account. That's so small that even a great trade barely moves the needle, and they conclude the rule doesn't work. Others put 50% of their account into one position with no stop and tell themselves it's fine, because they'd never let it fall that far. Remember, the rule regulates your maximum loss, which is position size and stop distance working together. A 300 position with a tight, honored stop can risk just 1%. A 100,000 position with no stop risks all 1,000. Mistake number 2, moving the stop loss. This one is the silent killer. The trade goes against you, your stop is about to trigger, and a little voice says, "It's about to bounce, just give it more room." The moment you move that stop further away, your carefully calculated 1% risk becomes 2%, then 3%, then whatever the market decides. The 1% rule is only as strong as your discipline at the exact moment it costs you money. A stop loss you move is just a suggestion, and the market doesn't respect suggestions. Mistake number 3. Sizing off your starting balance instead of your current balance. Say you started with 10,000, so you fixed your risk at 100 per trade forever. But after a rough month, your account is down to 80,000. That same 100 is now 1.25% of your equity. Keep sliding and the fixed number quietly becomes 1.5%, then 2%. Your risk percentage rises exactly when you're trading your worst. Recalculate 1% from your current account balance every single time. It takes 5 seconds, and it means you automatically risk fewer dollars in a drawdown and more as you grow. The system self-corrects in both directions. Mistake number 4. Doubling up after losses to win it back. This is the revenge trading trap wearing a risk management costume. The logic sounds almost reasonable. I just lost 3 trades at 1% each, so I'll risk 4% on this next one and get it all back at once. Congratulations. You've invented the exact behavior the rule exists to prevent, and you've done it at the precise moment your judgment is most compromised. The entire point of the 1% rule is that it's unconditional. It doesn't care how confident you are, how angry you are, or how due you feel for a win. The moment your risk size depends on your emotions, you don't have a rule anymore. You have a mood. If you catch yourself in any of these 4 patterns, that's not a small leak. That's the exact crack that accounts break along. Fix it before the market fixes it for you. If this video just saved your future trading account, and statistically for a lot of you, it did. The like button is right there, and it genuinely helps this channel reach the next beginner before their first blow up instead of after. And subscribe, because this video is one piece of a bigger series. We've already covered revenge trading, which is basically the emotional autopsy of everything January Marcus did, and the core math of risk and reward. Coming up, we're breaking down why your win rate matters far less than you think, and how to build a complete trading plan around rules like this one. If you're serious about learning this the right way, you'll want to be here for those. If you remember only one thing from today, make it this. In trading, survival comes before profits, always. Every legendary trader you've ever heard of has one thing in common. They stayed in the game long enough to get good. The 1% rule is how you buy that time. It can't make a bad strategy profitable. Nothing can, but it guarantees that while you're learning, no single trade, no bad day, and no realistic losing streak can ever take you out. You can be wrong 7 times in a row and still be down less than 7%. That's not playing scared. That's playing forever. And playing forever is really what this whole channel is about. Whether it's day trading discipline, the psychology of why we sabotage ourselves, dividend income, or the quiet power of compound interest. Every video here is a piece of the same puzzle, building the knowledge and the habits that lead to real financial freedom. Not in one lucky trade, but over a lifetime. Check out the playlists on the channel page and pick the video that matches where you are right now. Quick reminder: everything on this channel is for education only. It's not financial advice. And every trading decision you make is your own. Do your research, know your risk, and never trade money you can't afford to lose. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. And that's a wrap on today's topic. If you found this helpful, be sure to hit like and subscribe so you never miss a lesson. Have a question about what we covered today? Drop it in the comments below. I'll be answering the best ones. If you want to dive even deeper, click on this next video right here, where we explore next topic. Thanks for learning with me today, and I'll see you in the next one.